McKinsey, I think if I'd had an AI teacher at UT, I might have not failed calculus twice. So I think that I would have embraced that and like been in there. And so anyhow, I might have even gotten into business school. So it all worked out. I got a communication degree and I have a BS in speech from UT, which my parents are like, a BS in speech? We already knew that. You didn't need to go to school to get a BS in speech. Well, I do want to talk with you a little bit. I got up this morning and thinking about what am I going to wear? I brought resort casual, and it's really cold. So I did bring this a bunch of polos, and I have one long sleeve shirt that's incredibly wrinkled, and I tried to use that iron thing or steam thing and get the wrinkles out. It didn't quite work, so I still wore that. So I thought about this concept, what drag am I wearing today? And so I thought, okay, I'm gonna start my long sleeve drag because it's cold. Then I'm gonna wear my keynote drag, which is something like this with shoes and khakis and a white shirt and kind of an anti-tech white shirt guy. And I thought it was the concept of drag. And what we're talking about DEI, I'm just gonna lean into drag for a minute. I don't know if there's a character on Instagram called Patagonia. I don't know if you follow Patagonia. Everybody at Patagonia did not know Patagonia was gonna do this. Anyhow, she showed up one day in a drag suit picking up garbage in parks, and so that became Patagonia. The cool thing about what she said, though, he said in this one interview, actually, it kind of goes between pronouns, you know what, we all wear drag. And you pick what you're gonna wear every single morning. What am I gonna wear? What is my thing? What's my thing? And so, anyhow, the concept of DEI, this is my drag I picked. McKinsey, you picked out fabulous drag. I didn't even know you were the speaker, and I'm like, that's a fabulous coat you have on, just about 10 minutes before she spoke. So anyhow, welcome to the drag show, and in the spirit of long live DEI, let's do it. So, yeah, the DEI is not dead, I can assure you. Okay, catalysts. I want to talk about, and I'm here, I flew all the way from Santa Barbara, California to talk with you about this because it's really important to me. I believe that the agents for change are in this room. And that's why I use the term catalyst. And as a matter of fact, I'm getting goosebumps because I've talked to at least 3 people in this room just in the past time I've been here who are catalysts for change. I'm going to have conversations about how can you do it, how can you stand up, and it could stand for purpose and values in really challenging times when it matters most. And that's what I'm going to talk about. So I'm going to find the clicker. Here's what a catalyst is. It's a person or thing that precipitates change. I see my role as a catalyst for change. I see my role as a catalyst for change. See your role as a catalyst for change. And your role as a catalyst for change. Tina, your role as a catalyst for change. So I just think all of you in this room, Eugene, everyone, catalyst for change, and I want to talk about this and why it's so important. This is a really old slide. I've used this several times because I thought, you know what, after COVID, things are going to calm down, and I just wanted to remind people, it's not going to calm down. Shit is going to hit the fan again, over and over and over and over and over. So this was COVID, by the way. That's what that looked like not too long ago. This is a COVID room. But I'm telling you, geographic disruption is going to continue. We're going to have to continue geopolitical issues. We're not going to know what to do between Ukraine and Russia and Palestine and Israel and all these things that are, or Mexico tariffs or Canadian tariffs or whatever the next kind of chaotic geopolitical issue is. There's going to continue to be instability in democracy in the way our social fabrics are. There's going to continue to be, by the way, there is another pandemic coming. There will certainly be another one in our lifetime. Anyhow, this is going to continue. The challenges that are in front of us are not going to change. We're going to continue to deal with turbulent times. And I'm going to talk about hope in this, and it's just like doom and gloom. But I do want to talk about how do we go forward, knowing that these are going to be challenges, that people are going to be wildly distracted by all these things, and you just want them to come to work and be their best human, and how to do that in ways which I think are authentic and genuine and inspiring so that we can deliver a more human and resilient and high-performing workforce going forward. So that's what I'm here to talk with you about. Anyone Game of Thrones, folks? Okay, Game of Thrones? Okay, got a few. Okay, there's a, I love, get so many like things about work in Game of Thrones. But one of the things I love, there's a character called Littlefinger. And in the moment, he talks about something. He was like the chief of staff to the king, and kind of a mean chief of staff. And one of the things he says, moment, he whispers it, and he goes, chaos is a ladder. And I rewound it. I go like, what did he say? He said, chaos is a ladder. And I thought that was brilliant. And I was thinking about the concept of ladders. You know, those are things you can climb up. You can climb down. So in chaotic times, you can actually use a ladder to like lift up or climb down. You can also climb up the ladder and kick it down so no one else comes up and you're safe. Like there's a lot of things you can do with a ladder. And I want to think about in chaotic times, what are you doing with your ladder? Are you climbing up it and being courageous and screaming out, let's go? Are you climbing down in the basement and saying, wait, hope no one sees me? Are you jumping the ladder and kicking it down so no one else will get to it? I want you to think, in chaotic times, what are you doing with the ladder? So purpose is basically why you exist. And exist for whatever time, good times, bad times, great times, poor times, good times, great times, whatever. It is why you exist. And this is why it's important. This is why it's important to employees. 82% say it's important to have a purpose. 72% more weight than profit. And now, we talk a lot about Gen Z and millennials, but Gen Z now is saying this is a huge reason of why they choose to work. There's a recent McKinsey study that came out. And frequently, the S&P says, and the S&P 500 purpose-driven companies significantly outperform other companies. Not only is it just a good thing to do, but it's really darn good for business. So as you know, I work for this company called Patagonia, and Patagonia gives away 1% to the planet. 1% of top-line revenue, not profit. I'm going to repeat that. Revenue, not profit. So if they don't make a single dime, they still give 1% to the planet. So there was a time ago, kind of deja vu, when Patagonia saw maybe the planet may be in a little challenge due to a recent election. And we're not concerned about politics, but just its impact on the climate policy. So we were trying to figure out what to do. And every single person who goes to Patagonia goes through deep purpose-driven training. What's our purpose? What do we do? What do we stand for? So there's a conversation of what do we do, because Black Friday is coming up. It's the biggest shopping day of the year. What's the statement and what are we going to do? So someone in the room knew 6 months in, said, what if we give 10%? And someone else said, instead of what do we do on Black Friday? We give 100% of our revenue away. Everything we make across the world. And so the head of marketing goes, cool idea. Text the CEO. CEO said, cool idea. 10 minutes later, text the founder, said, cool idea. We decided we give 100% of the profit, not profit, revenue on that day. So we thought we'd give away, I don't know, $2-3 million, which is a typical Black Friday for us. We gave away $10 million on that day. $10 million of revenue on a single day. What happened on a single day? We had lines out the door. Guess how much money we spent on that marketing campaign? Nothing. It was so viral, it went everywhere. Patagonia was giving away 100% of its revenue. Didn't cost us a dime. We did $10 million, and they came back and came back and came back. We had record revenue, record profit, and record repeat traffic and repeat loyal customers for a very long time that year, and continued for 3 years on in terms of record sales, record revenue, and record profit. So one is we think about things in the long-term value. Maybe short-term give away $10 million, but make $100 million up to $1 billion over time. Next thing that's important about this, and I just want to talk about this moment on September 14th, 2022. It was a big day for me. I had just had a radical prostatectomy because I was getting rid of cancer, and I needed to get the whole thing out. And I was in New York, and I took my catheter out, and I went to Balthazar and met this wonderful woman, Samantha Gadd, who you know. And Samantha and I got to know each other, and we met with Mark Levy. That little moment led to a book we're writing on employee experience. We'll release in February. But little things you never know. And also on September 14th, my phone blew up and started getting all these calls. And what happened? And it was the day that Devon Chenard decided to give away his fortune. Decided to wait for him and his heirs, and forever the profit of Patagonia would now go to the planet. There is no such thing as someone making a profit from Patagonia other than to save this world for your children and your grandchildren for a better place in perpetuity. Nobody gets it. None of their heirs, No one. All the profit from Patagonia for the future goes to saving the planet for you. That is purpose. That is purpose. So, and not every company can be Patagonia, and not everyone can be Yvon Chouinard, who is one of the most amazing humans I've ever had the privilege of working with. What you don't know is his wife, Melinda, and I'll talk about in a moment. But your purpose is different and unique, and it's the way you make decisions every day, like should we give away $10 million on Black Friday? And it is in service to society in some big way. So right now, all of the wealth of Patagonia actually goes to that big blue ball that needs it desperately. I do want to tell you about other things, like even in the company I'm with now has a purpose, which is to be a consultancy with a soul. And so what we do is, one, we ensure extraordinary experiences. That's why I'm the CEO, not the chief executive officer, the chief experience officer. So I wanted to clarify that. I'm not the chief executive officer, but I'm in charge of amazing experiences, and if you don't get an amazing experiences with us, we hold back 15% of the fee, and then we give millions of dollars away, $2.5 million as a matter of fact, and the company's only 3 years old, to Greenhouse Scholars, which helps young youth succeed in work, and the Children's Tumor Foundation. So you don't have to be Patagonia to have a great purpose. You can be a company that just does search and consulting, and also have an amazing purpose. So I just want to talk about that. I worked for Guild, which had an incredible purpose, and so it doesn't have to be Yvon Chouinard or a private company. You can be a public company and do these things. So anyhow, this is a summary of what I think amazing purpose is for turbulent times. Its sister is values, or brother, whatever you want to call it, sister, brother. And I want to talk about values in terms of people talk about like it's a noun. What values it is a verb. It's how you behave. It's what the action is. And I really want to be clear about that. A value is a verb. It is how you behave. And so this is an example. One of Patagonia's values is called environmental activism. So we hire people for environmental activism. As a matter of fact, these are pictures of people at work at Patagonia. This is a protest, a peaceful protest. This is someone protesting at the beach. This was protesting at the Capitol. I am trained in peaceful protesting. If I wanted to do a peaceful protest, I know how to chain myself to both of these chairs or lock my arms. I'll tell you what happens if I were to get arrested while peaceful protesting. And this is our entire leadership team of Amsterdam at the Extinction Rebellion protesting. And you'll see up in this corner, if you get arrested at Patagonia for peaceful protesting for a meaningful cause like the climate, and you got to get permission, we will pay for your bail, for you, your spouse, your time off, your court fees, everything. So if you get arrested for that. So this is the entire leadership team. This is what values look like at Patagonia. Paid bail, and if your spouse goes, we'll pay for their bail too, and paid time for court. The only person who wasn't arrested is the head of HR, who's this smart Irish woman who said, someone has to bail you guys out. So this is the leader. She's like, some of the idiots going to jail. I'm not going to jail. So they actually, if you look at the guy in the black cap to the far left, is now the CEO of Patagonia. In my time, I've asked, who's been thrown in jail for peaceful protesting? There have been 2 people who said yes. Rose Marcario, the CEO before Ryan, and Ryan Gellert now, the CEO of Patagonia. How many people has your CEO been thrown in jail for the purpose of the company? That's purpose. That's the CEO means it. So these are the other things. You get a ride home. They actually dumped him in a field instead of going to jail, and make sure HR is ready to pay bail. This is a value at Guild, the company I work with, and they valued, it was a female founder, tons of people, women in leadership, and she believed in supporting women at work. This is the traveling companion benefit that Guild had. And I want to tell you about how many of you have breastfed, okay? How many of you had challenges breastfeeding when you're traveling? How many of you poured your breast milk in a toilet or a sink? How many times did you think, I wish I weren't doing this? Okay, getting goosebumps because this little benefit is called the traveling companion benefit. And when a woman at Guild travels, We pay for the baby and a traveling companion so they continue breastfeeding and go to work. And this is, when you think about it, when I talk to women about this, the worst day of their life or a really terrible day is pouring their breast milk in a toilet because it's gold. And you have to, because you have to keep pumping. And you can't, and it's really, there's not really a place to store it. Even in the airplane, there's not a good place to store it, so you have to pour it out. And then they ask you, like, what is this little thing, this little breast pumpy thing? You're going through security, and like, that's my breast pump, and you have to explain that to security. It's just a horrible experience. This is what belonging looks like in Guild. She feels like she belongs at this company, and this is what this value looks like. And this is her traveling companion, and her baby, and look at those big smiles. And I want to tell you, the person who used this benefit the most was a woman named Bijal Shaw. So when Rachel Romer, the founder at 35 years old, in August 2 years ago, had a stroke on Friday night and wasn't picked up again until Saturday morning and is still recovering, her successor, Bijal Shaw, used this traveling companion over and over, and now she's the CEO of Guild. I'm just telling you, like, these things matter because Bijal could show up to work. She could learn how to do the job. And when the time came when Rachel had a stroke and couldn't return to work, Bijal was ready to go in a lot of ways because of the Traveling Companion Program. How much does the Traveling Companion Program cost? Almost nothing. I'm not talking about expensive things. I'm talking about when you value women at work, this benefit isn't a difficult benefit. So anyhow, these are how to define values. They're how you show up. They're bold. They're unique to you. They're constant and consistent in good times and bad times, and they show up every single way and every single day. Like, you can't miss them. And if you can't name your values right now, like, what are your company's values? You can't name the 3 of them. What do they value? Are those line up with what's in the book or what they actually do? Think about that for a moment. What do they value? And you do it by their decisions every day. And they're unvaluable. You can't put a cost on value. What is the value, the financial value of the Traveling Companion Program to a woman? What? $100? $500? Like, it is invaluable. You can't put a price on it. That's a great value. So I'm going to talk about this concept. So Patagonia's mission when I got there was build the best product, do no unnecessary harm, and use Patagonia's business model to inspire solutions to the environmental crisis. That was the whole thing. One day on NPR, we heard Yvonne change the purpose statement to, we're in business to save our home planet. We knew he was talking about it, but it was a big surprise. He changed the purpose statement, and we were like, holy smoke, that's a big deal, from doing no unnecessary harm to saving the planet, which we had to change our entire business model. Think about our products, which products were killing the planet slower and which ones were actually saving the planet. And it led to this. So traditional agriculture works like this. You put a seed in the ground. The seed starts to grow. What it needs is a little bit of water. And when it starts to grow, it creates this microbial community in the ground. It starts to grow, and as these roots start to spread out, this microbial community surrounds the roots, and it pulls the nutrients in from the soil. And as it goes in the soil, it feeds the plant, and it starts to grow, and it comes out of the ground. And if it's a piece of corn, at the end of the year, it makes corn. And the farmer says, thank you very much. You get a 4.3 this year. So if you got 4 pieces of wood, your performance score is 4.3. So I get my corn, and then they slice into the ground. When that happens, by the way, when the corn is growing, it sequesters carbon into the ground. So it pulls carbon into the dirt and feeds the dirt again. In traditional agriculture, it slices into the ground, destroys the microbial community, and all the carbon and all the goodwill is released into the air. What process is an annual process that asks people how you perform, that doesn't feel good at the end of the year and releases a ton of goodwill at the end of it? Does it sound like the performance review, the annual performance? How many people feel like drained at the end of the performance review process? Exactly. Anyone? I cannot wait for performance review season. So this concept of regenerative agriculture, I like to model business models around the company to my HR models. How am I using the same language? And I thought, what if I applied regenerative agriculture practices to human beings? Like, how many practices do we have that are extractive? Like how much you're performing? How can we squeeze out of you? As a matter of fact, the annual engagement survey is like how much discretionary effort can we use some manipulative questions to get even more effort? Not just like 100%, but if we ask the right questions, you'll give 115%. So I just think that the tools sometimes that we give are like, how do we squeeze as much out as the humans as possible versus what if you employed them for the rest of your life? How can we think of a more regenerative versus extractive relationship with the things that we do? So anyhow, we had a business challenge because our skiers and climbers were leaving. We were in Ventura, great place to surf, horrible place to ski and climb. And so we thought, what do we do? And we decided to do a 4-day work week. And we did a pre and post, and at the end of it, we asked questions before in addition to productivity, engagement, experience, all those things. But we also ask, what was the relationship like with your spouse? How much time do you have to spend with your kids? What is the ability to go to the doctor and dentist? What's the ability to do the things that you love? We asked those questions. And 6 months after the 4-day work week, 83% said more weekend trips. 80% say it had a positive impact on the relationship with their spouse. How many of you say, as a result of working there, I have a positive relationship with my spouse? Not many. So just as you go down, more time to buy healthy food, less overwhelmed by the amount of work, more likely to recommend the company, more likely to stay, and, by the way, our skiers and climbers stayed. So that was the business model that we started with, but we measured this. This is an example of moving to a regenerative thing, how to give back to people's lives. We don't even ask, like, as a result of work, are we destroying your relationship with your spouse? Are you having a relationship with your children? What is the value of a better relationship with your spouse? What's the value, the moments you could spend with your kids and time? Or do the things that you love even if you don't have a spouse and kids, like doing things that you care about? Anyhow, I think that we need to rethink the concept of work because, by the way, we're killing people. Dr. Jeffrey Pfeffer at Stanford wrote a book called Dying for a Paycheck. Read it. And when you read this book, you have a really hard time understanding the concept that we're doing. 61% of employees say work makes me sick. We're having a health epidemic, not just a physical health, but a mental health epidemic because of work is so dang stressful. What happens? We're making people sick, and then we're having to pay for their benefits. This is like regenerative agriculture because when the soil is sick, it doesn't have enough root. We have to put fertilizers and pesticides and more water in. And when the humans get sick, we got to put more mental health benefits and more physical health benefits and all these things. We got to invest in that. And now we're complaining because our benefits costs are rising because we're making them sick. I just how can we get in front of that? How can we do things that are less stressful? Do things that people are more healthy, then our benefits cost goes down. We save money in the long run. Anyhow, I just think, read this book, Dr. Jeffrey Pfeffer, on Dying for a Paycheck. So this is the concept of regenerative practice. I'm on a campaign and a movement to think differently. Only 43% of people who work say their organizations have left them better off than when they started. So that means how many? Over 60%, about a little under 60% of people say, I am worse off because of work. So this is how to know if you're leaving people better than found them. I did tons of questions, and I tested this over several companies now. For as much as I put into my work, I receive equal or greater value to my life. I'm going to repeat that question again. For as much as I put into my work, I receive back equal or greater value to my life. That question ties to belonging, engagement, experience, productivity, connectivity, collaboration, and value is defined by the person, not by the company. It could be breastfeeding. It could be time with spouse, meaningful work. And you can go in there, and I found there's not a ubiquitous answer to that. It's a very personal answer, but you can really get to really incredible things by asking this one question of your employees. Okay, I threw this in. I don't usually talk about courage. I had something else that I have on my fourth thing. And I can't help but talk about courage in this moment. And so what do we need in turbulent times? And I think it's courage. And I want to talk about being courageous and a courageous leader. And Tina, I think your point was really good. You don't have to be outrageous, just courageous. I'm going to repeat that. Tina said this. We don't have to be outrageous. We just need to be courageous. And it was just such a great concept. And I'm not asking people to go crazy, but I do think, and there's a few people in the room I've talked to, being courageous is what our employees are looking for, leadership right now. Looking for courageous leaders and people who can think through the challenges that we're given everything today. So anyhow, look what courage means. Read it. The ability to control fear and deal with something that is dangerous, difficult, or unpleasant. I'm not saying courage is easy. I'm saying courage is hard. I'm saying you're doing something that people are dealing with is dangerous, difficult, or unpleasant. Courage is not easy. And there are consequences sometimes for even being courageous. And so anyhow, what Von Chenard said sometimes, if you're not pissing 30% of the people off doing something, then you're not courageous enough. And so just know you're not going to please everyone, and courageous leadership is okay with that. So anyhow, I'm just encouraging this in this moment. This is a recent article from McKinsey on courageous leadership, which I thought was really great. And if you just read this, I'm not going to read it for you, but just read what it says. And is this a time to duck? Is this time to stand? I realize that sometimes when you stand, you're the person who gets shot. So I'm not saying that. Be smart about it. Be strategic about it and think about it. But in this time, we need courageous leaders more than ever. Not outrageous, courageous. And so here are my things I wanted you to leave with about courageous leadership. Courageous leaders take higher ground all the time. Courageous leaders are able to communicate the nuance of the challenge of the thing that is the fear. Courageous leaders understand the complexity. It's not simple. It's not this or that or black or white. It's usually something extraordinarily gray. It's not going to make this person happy, that person, everyone happy in the room. When you make this decision, you're going to upset this group of people, and you have to navigate it because you're courageous. You acknowledge the fears. You acknowledge, I understand this is a difficult moment. And then here's what I'm going to do, think about resolving it. Where are you? Right there. So we asked this question earlier in our breakout. And one of the people in the breakout said, you know what? We could do this. We could lose a lot of money by doing this. But I'm going to talk to the group and saying, we're going to be courageous. We're going to stand up for our purpose and values. And by standing up for that, we're going to lose $4 million. And I need us to make that up. Like, we are such an amazing company. We're going to do this. And so that's a courageous leader. Not to say I'm not going to do this because we're going to lose $2 million. Say we're going to lose $2 million by doing what we stand for, but we're going to make it up because we're amazing and inspiring. So also this concept of being the thermostat, not the thermometer. A lot of times leaders reflect the temperature in the room and don't control the temperature in the room. And people know that. And so people want thermostats, by the way. They don't want leaders that are hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold. They want consistency. Another thing is courageous leaders, because it's hard, because it's lonely, because it's difficult, because it's challenging, because people are going to be angry at you, people are going to like you, people are going to hate you, people are going to love you, they're going to hug you. But I just take good care. So when you're doing this right, you're going to need moments to restore in your own kind of regenerative moment. And probably the CEO and CHR role, the ones who have to do this a lot, and leaders of companies, it's a lonely job. And sometimes you just got to find communities like this to restore. So I want to leave you with, it's not a choice. You can't make a choice, but I think it's super important in this moment. And just like it came out in February 24. Again, this is from Forbes, an article about what happens with courageous leaders. If you read the bottom line, courageous leaders will not only survive the storm, but emerge from it stronger than ever, seizing the opportunity that always emerge from disruption. Chaos is a ladder. So anyhow, your catalyst for change. That's why I flew all the way from Santa Barbara I flew from Montecito to be with you. And I believe you're catalyst. I believe we need catalyst. I believe we need courageous leaders. We need reshape work to be more regenerative than extractive. And that's why I'm here. And I hope I change one of your minds and one of you makes change as like a starfish in the world, it puts in the regenerative, the traveling companion benefit for the women in your group, then I've used my time well, and I'm just grateful for you making the time to learn how to be a catalyst in whatever space of the world that you're in. That's what I got.